What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers are going to have several options this upcoming offseason for the center position, particularly the backup center position. Obviously, look, Lakers need a clear-cut starter, but more likely than not, they're probably going to have to trade for that, right? They're probably going to have to, kind of, whether it's a Nick Claxton or, Mark Williams or, Walker Kessler, or, there's even talks about maybe like a Jalen Duren and them revisiting that. Several options there, right? And any of those options I think would be great. Any of those options I think would be fine. But the backup center role, because in my opinion, the Lakers need two centers, right? They need that clear-cut starter, ideally a skill big, ideally somebody that can, do multiple things, that isn't just solely reliant on Luka to do everything, right? Isn't solely reliant on LeBron to do everything, right? Be nice to kind of have that combination of a guy that could be that lob threat, hammer it home, but also you can dump the ball down to and he can go to work. I'm not saying he has to be this like offensive savant, but somebody that can, give you a little bit of both, right? That's where Mark Williams made some sense because, right, he's a guy that can, put the ball in the hoop himself, but also be that lob threat for you and hammer it home, right? But the backup role, right? Now, I like the idea of like a Clint Capella. He's somebody that I've used in examples before. Problem is, Clint Capella is probably going to be pretty pricey, right? You're looking at Clint Capella. He's probably getting $10 million. He's still 31, right? I do think a team bare minimum would probably give him their mid-level or taxpayer mid-level exception, right? So no, I don't think he's a guy that you could sign for a vet minimum. But a guy that I think that you can, that is younger, gives you a lot of the same stuff that I just don't believe has really had the opportunity. And we even talked about him around the trade deadline, and he ended up going to the Milwaukee Bucks instead and was actually really good for Milwaukee in stints. And that is Jericho Sims. I really like the idea of Jericho Sims. I really think on paper, he's exactly what the Lakers need, right? Big physical center who it can jump out of the building. I mean, the guy is an absolute, the guy can jump through the roof, right? Even if you watch some of those Milwaukee games. I mean, Dame at times would just get stuck. And there was a couple games where he just threw it up and Jericho just went up and got it. And the commentators were like, that's what he does, right? Just throw it up there and you know he's going to go get it, right? He's a guy 6'10", right? 250 pounds. Big physical interior presence. He's 26 years old. He won't be 27 till the start of the season, right? So he's a guy that's still young enough. I don't really like him as a starter, right? Because I just don't think he's gotten enough opportunity and been proven enough to where it's he's a guy that you can just hey, here's the keys to the starting unit for the Lakers. But he is a guy that I would love to have in a backup role. He's a guy that understands his role, knows how to play his role, is not going to do anything beyond his role, and it's exactly what the Lakers need, right? Floor running, athletic, pick and roll, lob threat big, that, he's not super great offensively, but he can on occasion, he can do the little, like most centers can do a little dump off into the basket, right? Because they're big enough and tall enough, right? So he's a guy that I do think gives you some real versatility in that regard. He's a guy that I really do think slot him alongside Luka, and he looks like an all-star, right? Jericho Sims is one of those guys, his all-star might be a little exaggerated, right? Because I don't think he'd be like a 20-10 guy, right? You could argue maybe as a starter, but in a backup role, I could see him being like an 8-8 guy in 20 minutes of action, right? If given, consistency and opportunity in minutes, right? That's not just what he didn't get with the Knicks. He never really got the opportunity with the Knicks. He was always the third or fourth backup big, so you look at, for example, the Knicks. The most minutes he ever played in a season for the Knicks was 15.6 minutes, and it was his rookie season, his second season. My apologies. 15.6 minutes per game, his second year. And he averaged basically 4 and 4 with half an assist, half a steal, half a block, right? In his second year, right? 52 games. You look at last year, right? His stint with the Knicks, he played in 39 games, started 5 of them, averaged 10.8 minutes per game, shot 61% from the field, not a floor spacing big by any stretch of the imagination. Again, he is a guy that's pretty much just lob city, right? So EFG again, 61%, 2-point percentage, 61%. Free throw shooting, 60. He's career 55 or 58.5%, but he's also a career 4 free throw attempts. So you don't really have the sample size to know whether he's like terrible or not. But he is a guy that I wouldn't expect him to be an 80% free throw shooter. He's probably closer to 60, maybe high 60s if you're lucky. Rebounding was 3.3 rebounds and 2 points with a 0.6 assists, half a steal, half a block. And again, that was in 10 minutes of action. But with Milwaukee, he got 15 minutes of action in 14 games played. He didn't start in any of those games. He shot 68% from the field on 1.8 attempts. So again, small sample size. And then EFG, again, same thing, 68%, 2-point percentage, 68%. But rebounds, he averaged 5 rebounds and 3 points with, again, an assist, half a steal, and will be nice to round up to a full block, right? So gave you a little more production. Now, again, it's kind of hard to give you any type of offensive production when you're only getting, 2 field goal attempts per game, right? So you basically have to go perfect from the floor. Otherwise, you're averaging 2 points. But looking at his per 36, get it? Per 36 doesn't tell you everything, but it kind of gives you an idea of like, if he was given a real opportunity, what could he bring? What could he provide, right? Well, in his per 36, he'd be a 6-point, 12 rebound guy. 6 points, 12 rebounds. Again, he's only averaging 1.2 attempts. So yeah, in 15 minutes, times that by 3, right? Like a little less than that. Then yeah, that's basically what you're getting. Times, he's getting basically 6 points per game. But which is why I think he could be an 8-8 guy for the Lakers. But anyway, I digress. 6 points, including 12 rebounds, including 3.4. He is a career per 36. Keep that in mind. Per 36, he is a career 4 offensive rebounds per game guy. But yeah, he'd be 12 rebounds, 2 assists, half a steal, almost 2 blocks, and 6 points. Right? That's great off the bench. If he could be an 8-8 guy off the bench. But the biggest factor for me on a Jericho Sims is he'd probably be cheap. Right? Talk about a guy that would probably be, roughly a vet minimum, right? I don't see him getting much more than that, if at all, right? Maybe a team, right? Like, the Milwaukee Bucks, would they be willing to give him more? I don't know, maybe, but I think he's probably looking at a vet minimum contract. So he is an unrestricted free agent, by the way, right? So he's not like a restricted or anything. Like, no, he is free to sign wherever he wants for whatever dollar amount, right? Now, could he end up staying with Milwaukee? Sure, it's a possibility. But like, if you're Jericho Sims, wouldn't you love to go to the Lakers, play alongside LeBron and Luka, and really show what you can bring? Really show what you could do for a team, right? It's like, dude, I could stay here. Dame is missing an entire year, right? Yeah, maybe you go to one of these other teams, but like, how many teams need a center for one? And two, he's probably going to get a lot of opportunity, right? Because like, an 82-game season is a long season. You have LeBron, Luka, and, if the Lakers end up keeping Austin Reeves, you have several guys that are just going to look for you to eat, right? And especially Luka. Luka loves you as a lob, right? And the one skill that Jericho Sims has that no one questions is the ability to just go up, get the ball, and hammer it home, right? The guy could jump out the gym, right? So, I mean, imagine Luka. He's going to get into the defense. He's going to create that dribble penetration. He's just going to throw it up. And he's probably going to average 8 points a game for the Lakers just on like 4 lobs a game off the bench. Right. And he'll probably start a handful of games, if not, a couple handful of games. Like I could see him starting 20 games for the Lakers, because guys are, get nights off and all that stuff. And Lakers are load managing and doing all that stuff. Right. So like, he's a guy that I look at and just go like, he'd be dirt cheap. He'd give you basically everything you need in a backup role. He's a big, physical, strong, athletic center. He can run the floor, right? He's basically what we wanted Jackson Hayes to be, right? But Jackson Hayes doesn't, is 30 pounds lighter. And, but the athleticism, right? The floor running, being the lob threat, right? He's basically like, what if Jackson Hayes was 250, right? Like, that's basically what and I like Jericho Sims is more disciplined. Like that's one of the things that I like about him, where Jackson Hayes is just very undisciplined. He gambles a lot. He's always constantly, he doesn't understand the idea of just going straight up. It's always like out, right? Like, get a little foul trouble and then where Jericho is a guy that he has a little more discipline. He's a little more understanding of like positioning and stuff on the defensive side of things. Right? And then again, in the backup role, like what do you have to lose? Like you could still keep Jackson Hayes if you want. Right? Like one of the things that I've talked about very heavily is like have the skill center, have that big physical, center that isn't afraid to bang with the big boys, and then have that, floor running, just fast pace if you want a running gun type center. Well, you could have, again, let's use Mark Williams as an example with a Jericho Sims and then a Jackson Hayes. There you go. There's your three bigs. Right? And I think Jericho Sims is a guy that you can play, 15, 20 minutes a night. He'd come in, probably give you 8 and 5 and 15 minutes of action. I mean, he was a 3 and 5 guy in 15 minutes with Milwaukee. You'll have Luka this time, right? Like, so I think he bare minimum is a 6 and 6 guy, 6 and 5 guy, and 15 minutes of action off the bench. Like, that's perfect. It's what the Lakers need. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Feel what your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Kind of mix in the middle? How do you feel either way? I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.